Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. I have Matt Margiotis here, our product portfolio manager for the PMP product lines, and he will be going into the PMP 450 system release in the 14.2. So Matt, without further ado, go ahead.
Hello, welcome. Again, my name is Matt Margiotis. I'm the product manager for the 450 product platform. And there's a lot of exciting things going on with the product platform lately. We are having somewhat regular webinars to kind of inform you of the advancements and the new things that are coming out in the platform and what you can expect to see in the near future. So it's really, really cool stuff. Today we'll focus on kind of the near term, give you an overview of the product line, how the platform's progressed over the last year or so, and then kind of some new stuff that's coming out in the recent releases of software, and then a look to the future. So to kind of summarize the whole portfolio for you, we do everything from 245 kilometers down to 2 meters. We've introduced pieces of the portfolio now that cover just about every kind of wireless connection or wireless link that you could imagine. We do microwave backhaul, high capacity microwave backhaul with the PTP 820 products down there on the left. We can do long range, we can do high capacity. There's lots of very complex and very powerful technological products there in the 820 product line. And then we have the unlicensed PTP, which are unparalleled as far as performance goes in that area. We can do very long distances. It's very resilient to interference, really a class-leading product there in the PTP 650. And then for distribution access, we have the ePMP product line, which is our budget product that supports PMP in a very, very decent manner and is a pretty solid fit for a lot of folks. And then we also have the PMP 450 platform, which is our flagship point-to-multipoint product that's very scalable and very powerful performance-wise. And I'm focused on that one, and I'll lead you through that. But going into the house now, we have the ability to support Wi-Fi with our pilot set of products, including home and small business with the R200 and 201 series products, which can actually also power the 450 or ePMP SMs if needed. We also have outdoor Wi-Fi that's coming to the platform. We have the ePMP Wi-Fi product now, and then we'll also have the E500 Wi-Fi product coming in the near future, which is a very powerful outdoor Wi-Fi product that can be coupled with the distribution products to provide outdoor Wi-Fi for, say, municipal parks or stadium events and that sort of thing. I mean, we can do a lot of different things by combining these various powerful products. Then we have the indoor enterprise product, the E400 product, also to provide high-end access internal to the building. All of these things can be managed under the CN Maestro product. We're going to be rolling in several of these products into Maestro as the year wears on here. Right now it supports all the pilot products as well as ePMP. We'll have 450 support for that, and I'll talk about it in a little more detail, but in the 14.2 software release we'll have support for Maestro, so that's coming in the very near future. So Maestro is a cloud-based management system that you can manage and configure all of the devices underneath. We're also going to have a on-premise or NOC version coming out shortly as well for the Maestro. So again, focused on the center of the graph here, we are providing the 450. It's an unparalleled scalability. It's extremely high capacity. You can cram a lot of these things into one site to provide as much data as you need. We're now able to do upwards of 200 megs per sector in a 30 meg channel. I'll talk more about that in a few minutes. But it's still low complexity. It's a flat network with 450. There's no back-end infrastructure to worry about. There's no licensing to worry about. It's a very low total cost of ownership, which is a very important feature that we really rely on for the customers to take advantage of. Again, scalable, rapid deployment, supports all the applications that you might need. And with the introduction of some of the other frequency bands, we now support an online site in a very decent manner with the 900 megahertz product. So again, it's the fourth generation of PMP products from Cambium. It's a proprietary system. And what we're doing with the 450 is really all about capacity and spectral efficiency. So with the 30 meg channel now, we're able to do over 200 megs of data through an access point. And we're saying over 2 gigs at any tower site. Because of the frequencies that you can support, you can put many, many access points at a given tower site and provide a lot of data. And that's due to the ability to reuse frequencies, as well as the lack of guard band required between adjacent channels, as well as the synchronization capabilities. So we utilize GPS synchronization to be able to maximize spectral efficiency and maintain that low latency. Again, all this is built upon a software-defined radio. So we're able to do frequency spins. We can react to feature requests. There's lots of things we can do because it's a proprietary software-based system that we could not otherwise do on, say, like a Wi-Fi based chipset, which many of the competition is working from. So a quick architecture view. Again, a flat network. It's a base station that connects to a cluster management module if needed, that connects to your network. So it's very simple at the base station side on the left. And then at the customer premise, we can hook up a subscriber. In this case, I'm showing a 450D integrated reflector dish. And that simply connects to the R200 inside the home. And the R200 is actually powering the radio, as well as providing indoor Wi-Fi and telephone connection for a VoIP system. So it's a pretty simple flat network, and it can do a lot of different things. So I'm not going to read through the specifications. You can take a look at the website and see all the specifications. But I did want to point out that there's many, many options for you in the 450 platform. There's the 900 megahertz now. We have 2.4. We have the 450i. So there's many options to choose from, depending on your specific needs. Just kind of a general view of the sizing if you have never seen the 450 before. That's a 450 original 5 gig access point on the left, and then the subscriber module to the right of that. And again, on the subscriber side, there are lots of options. You can do our typical, typically sold SM is the integrated antenna, which is a simple candy bar type of form factor that goes back to the days of the PMP 100 or the FSK product. That modest gain antenna can be augmented with a clip in 5 gigahertz, which is basically a Cassegrain lens that slides over the top, or a reflector dish in any frequency, with the exception of 900. Any frequency can adopt this reflector dish to give it a pretty high gain. We also sell these in connectorized mode models that have N-type connectors on the end, so you can hook up any antenna that you wish. We've recently introduced this bottom row, which includes the 450D, which is a very high gain 5 gigahertz radio. It provides about 25 dB of gain. And then we have the 450i, which comes in both a connectorized or integrated version. The high gain panel there on the lower right is about 23 dBi gain in a nice, compact, easy to install package. So why 450? Basically, you have several advantages over the competition or the standards-based type products. We have scheduled TDD channel access. This is deterministic. It's scalable regardless of load. And by that I mean that when a subscriber needs data, it requests data from the access point, and the access point maps that transmission in the very next frame. So there's no latency introduced by this. It's a completely deterministic method of scheduling. Without it, we have Wi-Fi based systems that are contention based, that as the system becomes loaded, things get, you have to contend for data slots, and things get messy. Latency goes up, and overall throughput may go down. So the latency stays consistent and low, which is critical for certain applications, including voice, especially voice. So without consistent latency, you have spikes of latency that can affect VoIP especially, and other applications such as gaming. With the 450 system, you'll never have that variation in latency. It stays low and it's consistent because of this TDD scheduling mechanism. GPS synchronization is a hallmark of the platform as well. This supports, it creates an environment that relies on efficient channel reuse. So we have, because of the optimized antennas and the channel access methods, we employ GPS synchronization to effectively reuse frequencies in a back-to-back fashion, meaning in a 90-degree sector deployment, you can do a 4-sector deployment at a tower site and simply use 2 frequencies and use them twice, meaning an A-B type of scenario, where A is in a back-to-back manner because of the high-performing antenna. The GPS synchronization minimizes interference among sites as well as intra-site interference. So you're actually minimizing self-interference while maximizing the use of spectrum. All these things together lead to the high throughput and system capacity. Because you can reuse frequency and because you're minimizing interference and don't need guard bands, you're actually maximizing your overall use of the spectrum. Very important because spectrum is a very scarce resource. As I mentioned, it's a software-defined system, meaning most of what we do is built upon an FPGA, which is completely software programmed, field programmable, if you will. What we've done in the past 3 years since the launch of this product, we've actually introduced frequency bands on a pretty regular clip. We now have 900, 2.4, 3 gig, and 5 gig as well in that architecture. And we'll continue to look at what's the next band and what we can support with this product. We've improved throughput through various methods, including introducing new modulation modes, and we've enhanced link capacity or link stability by introducing different modulation methods, such as the single payload MIMO-A. We're also now introducing new channel bandwidths that can further increase the overall throughput of the product. We've improved PPS, or packet processing powers, by simply doing software optimization. In addition to that, we have the 450i product, which is a pretty high step forward in terms of packet processing, and that's due to the beefier processor included in a system on a chip that we have. We've improved MTU size, so we can now support larger packets, which are kind of MPLS-friendly packets. So it should be able to support anything you need to do with the product. And we also have a feature-rich QoS embedded in the product itself. You don't need back-end routers or sophisticated switching equipment to implement QoS as needed. So the 450D, I just want to spend a minute talking about what these new products are that were additional to the portfolio. The 450D was launched last year. Again, it's an integrated dish, and it's on the order, it's actually cheaper in terms of MSRP. It's less expensive to purchase this dish than it is to buy the old subscriber with the offset reflector dish. So I encourage you to take a look at this. It is the highest gain we've ever had in an integrated product. It's 25 dB across the 5 gig band. It does work with the existing power supplies. It's the same 450 subscriber module, and it's extremely easy to assemble and deploy. So it reduces your overall cost of ownership by allowing these you to make the connection. You won't have as many of the not able to install type of sites because of the high gain. And it's really a speedy and simple and clean installation. You can put one of these together in about 2 minutes. Last year we also introduced the 450i platform. Now this is not a replacement for anything, but rather it's a complement to the portfolio. And what this introduces is the ability to service from 4900 megahertz all the way up to 5925 in a single hardware. It opens up some new frequencies for this platform, including 4.9, 5.1, and 5.2 bands. It's an improved radio in many ways. We increased the top-end transmit power where you can use it by regulation. And then we've also improved sensitivity a little bit. And we also introduced this dynamic interference filter. And that's a pretty important step for this wideband product. And what that does is actually effectively block any off-channel interference. So it's still in-band interference, possibly. But if you have a channel selected, it'll block any off-channel interference and help your, especially in the uplink. It is built upon a new FPGA, or a system on a chip. We've evolved to the next generation of chip, which really allows us to do better packet processing. We're about triple what we were with the 450, and we have a path to move forward even with that. And it allows us to do many, many more things with this processing power and with the FPGA power that we maybe otherwise wouldn't be able to do. It is a ruggedized enclosure. This in the connectorized version, it's an all-metal enclosure, very rugged. Visually, it looks a lot like the PTP 650, but a little smaller. But it really provides increased reliability, and we will have an ATEX and HAZLOC certified model available very shortly here as well. It's a new power scheme. We went to an 8023 AT power scheme. It's a 56-volt power. But what that enables us to do is use, instead of the timing/default port, which is typical for the 450 platform, we've now introduced an aux port, which is an RJ45 that allows PoE out. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, what you can do with that. So why 450i versus 450? That may be a question you're asking. Now, they are interoperable. I want to make sure we point that out. So if you have a 450 network, or you're thinking about a 450 network, you can start with 450 and then migrate over to 450i as needed. They do interoperate with each other within a sector or within a network. The 450i is an advanced radio design. Again, provides a little bit more transmit power where allowed and a little bit better sensitivity. It is built upon an updated FPGA, or system on a chip, that has embedded processing, which gives you a lot more processing power. It has a dynamic interference filter, which is a mitigation technique for interference in the band, and it especially improves performance in noisy environments. It's an industrialized mechanics. It's IP6766 for all form factors of the 450i, and then we'll have the ATEX and HAZLOC version available as well. So we're including the entire 5 gig band with this product. It doesn't change what the 450 can support, but it does allow you to use any of these other bands as needed if you are 450i to 450i. We have that aux port. I'll talk again a little bit more about that, but it's really a flexible option for customers that want to do certain applications, such as remote access points, a Wi-Fi access point, or even a camera for a video surveillance type of application. And it's compatible with the standard PoE now. So I do want to point out here as well, we have a 450i trade-up promotion. See the website. There's a form there where you can trade in a 450 or a 430 access point and get some credit towards the purchase of a 450i. Pretty exciting stuff if you want to move forward in the platform. Late last year, we released a high-gain directional SM in the 3 gigahertz band, both the 3.5 and 3.65 versions. It looks a lot like the 450i, but it's actually a 450 SM inside there, but mated to a 19 dB gain flat panel. We've had very good feedback on this, as it performs very well where the dish may not be an option. The offset reflector dish may not be an option for aesthetics or wind load or other reasons. This guy is a good alternative. It is a little bit more expensive because it is a rugged enclosure and a very expensive antenna. However, it's a great alternative and option for you if you need something like that for the 3 gig product. So that's available now as well, and most of our channel has stock of this guy now, so it should be readily available should you need it. 900. Let's spend a minute on 900 because it's a pretty critical piece of the portfolio for folks that have no alternative. This operates in the ISM band, the unlicensed 902 to 928 band, mostly in North America, but there are pockets of the rest of the world that can take advantage of this. So if you're wondering if it's available, it might be worth checking that out with the regulations in your area. For this product, we support 5, 7, 10, or 20 megahertz channels. It is a 450-based platform, so the software is exactly the same. It's the same look and feel, same GUI, and it supports roughly the same kinds of throughputs given the channel size. It's a 2x2 MIMO design. This is a dual slant system, which provides isolation not only from existing vertical and horizontal antennas, a single pole. It'll provide isolation from both, either of those deployments that are out there. Typically, the frequency hopping schemes are vertically polarized, and our old PMP 100 product in 900 was horizontally polarized. So you're providing protection against both of those by being dual slant. It is a new power scheme, again, for the AP, because that's based on the 450i architecture. So that's an 8023 AT power to the AP. However, on the SM side, it's 30 volts. And that's so you can kind of do customer replacements without actually entering the home. You can utilize the same power system that was there in the PMP 100 product. So we're maximizing spectral efficiency again by utilizing GPS timing. It's co-locatable with the PMP 100 series 900 megahertz product, and functions very well alongside it as long as you have the timing parameters correct. And we provide some documentation on this on the website, as well as an Excel-based tool to help you with the migration if needed. Again, the product design goal here, the goal of this product was basically to provide a path forward for those customers that were stuck using the PMP 100, which really only could provide about 4 megs in total at the access point. With this guy, simply swapping out the equipment, we can now realize under the same RF conditions at least 3 to 4 times the amount of throughput, again, given the same RF conditions. If you have a clean spectrum or a clean channel to use, the 450-900 can certainly provide lots and lots of throughput. So again, key system features, it is based on the 450i platform. It's redesigned completely from the PMP 100. It does allow you to do non-line of sight links. The propagation of 900 is fantastic. It goes through trees fairly well, and it really makes those connections that otherwise really with other frequencies you just can't do. On the AP, it's a ruggedized enclosure. It's based on that IP 450i, which is IP6667. On the SM side, it's a very delicate, if you will, Yagi antenna. It's only 41 inches long. But the installation is really easy. I mean, it clips on, you screw on those RPSMA connectors and you're done. It's pretty simple to deploy. It is a 12 dB antenna on that side. Again, on the SoC side, on the AP, it's, again, using that system on a chip, which is a very, very beefy processor. So you'll never have issues with packet processing on the 900 product at the access point. And we have that aux port as well on the access point that can do other things, including remote APs. In this case, it might be more important if you have a remote site that you're trying to connect with the 900 product that's attached to, say, another frequency. You can take advantage of having that aux port on the AP. And just to mention the power again, we have 8023 AT power on the AP, but we can continue to use that 30-volt canopy-style power supply on the SM side. So let's talk about what's coming in the roadmap. So we've covered all the way up pretty much through 14.1.1, which introduced the 900 megahertz product. In April here, we're going to go official with build 14.1.2. We have the last beta just got posted yesterday, and we're expecting that beta to be nearly complete. We don't know of any issues yet that we need to make a change to that software yet. So by the end of next week, we're looking to go complete with 14.1.2. I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. And then 14.2 is coming in May, which has this 30 megahertz channel support, as well as support for that aux port, that second Ethernet port, as well as rolling in the CN Maestro functionality into the product platform. And that's coming in May. I'm not going to read through this. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff in there, but this is the stability release, if you will. So 14.1.2, we fixed a ton of stuff. It will be the most stable release yet for 450 platform. We thank you. I want to take this time to thank all the customers that have been beta testing with us on this release. It's been in beta for quite some time. We had a couple of major issues that we fixed, and then many, many, many more minor issues. Anytime someone is doing beta with us, we encourage you to go on the forum, and we read the forum and see what you're reporting, and then we try to get those changes in as soon as we can. And we've been able to implement a ton of small bug fixes that are minor annoyances maybe to certain folks, but to have them fixed and eliminated from the software is a pretty powerful thing. So thank you again to everyone that's been doing beta testing. So we're expecting to have this out by the end of next week. And then 14.2 is right around the corner. So not only do you get all the stability of the 14.1.2 release, we now are able to support 30 meg channels. And I showed this at the last webinar, but I want to emphasize it again. We using the 450 product, we expect to be able to support around 170 megs of real-world type throughput, and these are link test results, but they equate to real-world performance. And further increases could be seen by using 450i to 450i. Because of that beefier processor, you can actually get a little bit more out of it with a 30 meg channel. And we're looking at around 200 megs. So exciting stuff moving forward with 14.2. Another thing to point out is we have this aux port, and you can do some cool things with it. We have a demonstration here in the lab in the office where we've actually deployed the 450i underwater. And we added a camera recently to that 450i in the aux port, so that this camera actually monitors the fish and kind of provides a real-time stream out of the access point through the network here in the office. It's kind of just a fun thing to do, but it simulates the video surveillance application that you can do with that aux port on the 450i. So not only can you do video surveillance by attaching a PoE camera directly, you could also instead choose to deploy another access point and in a remote AP type situation, or a Wi-Fi access point to provide local Wi-Fi access to those guys. So what's next? This slide was going through the rest of the releases that we have planned for about a year away. In 14.3, we're adding 40 megahertz channels. And then in August, we have Release 15, which is the Medusa release. I'll spend a minute talking about what that is and what that's going to do for you as well, because that's a huge, exciting thing we're adding to the portfolio. In October, we'll introduce the 450i platform to the 3 gigahertz band, which again will combine the 3.5 and 3.65 radios into a single SKU and enhance the processing power of that platform as well. In December, we have planned a software release that'll add some pretty key features, including adaptive CIR and new levels of QoS. And then in March, we'll have a wideband 5 gig SM that'll be a little bit less expensive than the current 450i wideband SM. So we're looking forward to introducing that to help you keep your costs down as an operator. So let's talk about where we're headed long term for the portfolio, or for this platform rather. So today we're at this 125 meg limit or so. On the y-axis, we're talking about aggregate system capacity or sector capacity. We support 256 QAM and a 20 megahertz channel, and we can do about 125 megs of throughput. We introduced the 450i, and we're upgrading our ability to support wider channels, which includes 40 meg channels, which will then get us to around that 250 meg throughput level. When we introduce the CN Medusa technology, the 450M access point will be able to do massive multi-user MIMO. This is really cool technology, very, very exciting addition to the platform, and we expect that to fully be able to do at least 400 megs at any given a typically deployed dense site. We're going to continue to build upon this multi-user MIMO architecture into the future, and we can see ourselves breaking this 1 gig per sector barrier before too long. So this is we do have a long-term plan for this portfolio that includes increasing capacities above a gig per sector. So the last thing I want to say is go massive. Check out the website. We're going to be dripping and dropping lots of information onto this site. It's cambiumnetworks.com/go massive. And we'll be introducing the CN Medusa technology as well as the massive MIMO architecture slowly over the next couple of months. We're planning to have a more public release in the late June timeframe, so stay tuned for that. But very exciting stuff forthcoming from Cambium. And that's about it for me. I would like to open it up to any questions you might have, and if I'm able to answer them, I surely will. There may be questions that I'm going to defer, but let's start with the questions. Andrew?
So Matt, quick question that came in here. So it's 200 megs per sector. What is actual tested throughput using a single PMP SM for a lab environment? And would I need multiple SMs on one AP to fully utilize the 200 meg capacity?
So in the case of the PMP 450 SM, you are going to be limited to around 100 megs, and it will depend on packet size. The PMP 450 SM has a packet processing power of about 12,500 packets per second. And so if it's small packets, you won't be able to fully utilize the capacity of the access point with a 450 SM. With a 450i SM, your packet per second processing power is more than triple. It's running around 45,000 right now, and you will be able to utilize, in many more cases, the maximum throughput of the sector. So generally speaking, this is a multi-point product, and the bench testing that you might do in a one-to-one type of fashion does not truly represent the scalability of the system. And you do need multiple SMs to kind of show how the system might operate. Very good question.
Another one that came in here, Matt, is does the PMP 450i have the same PPS for the AP and the SM?
Yes, it does. The 450i is again, in multi-point mode, is around 45,000 packets per second, and it's higher than that even with in point-to-point mode. So there is an option to purchase a PTP 450i, which is a single link, and that is even higher PPS.
To piggyback off that, does the PMP 450i and the PTP 450i have the same PSU of the PTP 650?
You can utilize the same power supply, yes. So the power consumption of these products is around 19 watts at peak. We do have a lower priced option for power supply for the 450i than we do for the 650. So that's in the your distributors and resellers should know what that is, but we have a lower priced option for you. But in the cases where you need a hardened power supply and you want to take advantage of that using that aux port, we do support the same power supplies that the PTP 650 can utilize as well, commonly referred to as the PIDU.
Does the 450i SM work with the 450 AP?
Yes, absolutely. They're interoperable in both ways. The one thing to keep in mind is that the 450 supports 5.4 through 5.8, and the 450i supports other frequency bands including 4.9, 5.1, and 5.2. The 450 will not ever support those bands, but the 450i can support the entire 5 gig band. So if you're operating in 5.4 or 5.8, they are interoperable in either fashion, SM to AP or AP to SM.
Will the 430 SM talk to the 450i AP?
Yes, a 430 in interoperability mode will be supported and is supported by the 450i as well as the 450. So you can actually mix all of them in the same network, in the same sector.
Matt, do you have any recommendations for a flat panel instead of a 36-inch Yagi for the 900 meg SM?
So we're looking at that. We do know of a couple of antenna vendors that are investigating developing one of those. And I don't know of any offhand that support dual slant polarity. However, we are working with a couple of antenna vendors to get that option available for the market. Now, whether we as Cambium sell that antenna or we just refer to a third party, it's yet unknown. But we are working with a couple of folks because we know that some of the reason for that question would be ice and ice buildup and load on that Yagi antenna sometimes is tough to deal with. So yeah, we are working to get a flat panel option on the market in some fashion as soon as we can.
This is in regards to a customer moving from, they're looking to move from the 5.7 to the 5.4 after this release. So their question is the DFS detection more stable using the 5.4 frequency on the 450i platform?
It's the same algorithm between the two products, and we always test to the most stable that we can with meeting the regulation. I know there was an issue, a couple of issues on 14.1.1 with DFS stability that have been resolved in 14.1.2. So if you did have issues and you'd like to make sure that those issues don't exist anymore, I would highly recommend downloading the latest beta of the 14.1.2 to prove to yourself that those issues have been fixed. But certainly we meet every regulation, and the goal of DFS has always been to meet the letter of the law, meet the detection thresholds, but cause as minimum as possible false detects, and that's always been a tricky balance. And I think we've, as a company, Cambium's done fairly well with that balance. But again, that's a tricky balance there.
Any future plans for a 120-degree dual slant 900 meg antenna?
Not 120. We don't have plans to introduce a 120. There are again antenna vendors that I'm aware of that are working on a 90, a true 90. What we have today, we support a single access point antenna, or we sell a single access point antenna that's a 65-degree 3 dB roll-off. But that pattern can be used in either a 60-degree sector or a 90-degree sector, and it works fairly well in either scenario. You will get more circular coverage, if you will, if you're doing a 6-sector deployment, and you'll have a little bit more of a clover leaf type of energy pattern if you're doing a 90-degree sector deployment, a 4-sector deployment. As far as 120 goes, it becomes, as you get a wider beam width antenna, it becomes much more difficult to maintain the pattern and keep the size and the cost of the antenna down. And with a 3-sector deployment, you're missing out on the ability to do frequency reuse. For 900, that becomes pretty critical because there's not a lot of spectrum to play with. So the short answer is no, we're not developing a 120. And actually, the recommendation from Cambium would be to deploy in either a 4 or 6-sector deployment to take advantage of frequency reuse capabilities.
So now with moving to a 30 meg system, they're currently using a 20 meg channel size. What would you say is the most logical conversion process in an active sector to upgrade to that 30 meg?
That's simply a changeover, and it's going to, it's a reboot of the sector. If you have the spectrum available, you simply make the change in the access point reboot, and then the SMs will scan in 30 meg mode. It'll scan in all the different frequency bandwidths available. If you want to limit the amount of downtime, if you're doing this in a maintenance window or something like that, you want to make sure that you go onto the SMs and make sure you check the 30 meg boxes only, and then it'll register more quickly to the access point once the access point is rebooted. But yeah, it's simply a reboot of the system while selecting the new 30 meg channels, obviously ensuring that you're on the latest software that supports 30 meg channels.
Now, also moving from that 20 to 30 meg channel, will there be any loss of RF power or receive power?
No. With 30 meg channels, we will still meet the 36, in North America, I'm speaking North America, we'll still meet the 36 dB EIRP limit, even in 30 meg channels. What you do lose is a little bit of sensitivity when you go to wider channel. But the link budget should be adequate to nearly be the same as it was with 20. Now, the one caveat for 30 meg channels I do want to point out is in DFS controlled bands, we do need to get reapproval from the FCC. So there will be a delay in terms of 5.4 and 5.2 support for 30 meg channels. But we're working through that. We're getting in the labs as soon as we can to get that approval and get that going.
Will the Medusa system support massive MIMO and multi-user at first version?
Yeah, so Medusa is the technology, and the product that we're going to release is actually called the 450M access point. And the 450M using CN Medusa will support massive mu-MIMO from day one. So what that means is we're going to allow you to replace your access point with the 450M, and thereby if you're sufficiently dense in a given sector and you have the required kind of spread among your subscribers, you'll realize capacity increases instantly. It's a very powerful thing to have massive multi-user MIMO.
The 450i has been showing a constant power limit exceeded notification. Why is that, and what's the fix?
Power limit exceeded. I'm not sure about that. I would encourage you to open a support ticket for that specific case. I'm unaware of an issue like that on 450i.
So if I currently have a PMP 450 deployed on the 3.5 band, how can I deploy an SM with the 450i? Was that possible, or would I have to replace the AP, the 450i?
So 450i and 3 gigahertz is, again, due out in October. And when you do have a 3.5 450 AP, you can simply put out the 450i SM and it will connect. So there, again, will be completely interoperable between 450i and 450 in the 3 gigahertz band as well.
Does the Medusa support the install base?
Yeah, so one of the real beauties of the 450M product using CN Medusa is that you can utilize and protect your current investment. So 450M will be out in 5 gigahertz band in August, as I mentioned. And you can use the subscribers that are already in the field. So all you're doing is swapping an access point. So you're protecting your investment in the platform by loading up 450M CN Medusa.
What is the output power of a reflector dish?
Well, the reflector dish itself does not have any output power. It's simply reflecting the signal that's put out by the transmitter in the radio. The total gain, however, in 5 gigahertz is about 24 dBi of gain. And so that's roughly, it goes from 8 to 24, so it's roughly a 15 to 16 dB addition to the SM.
I'm not sure about this one, but the PMP 450i AP on the FCC regulation have only the 5.7 drop menu to choose from. How can they get to the 5.4?
So we, using software release 14.1.2, again, that opened up the 5.2 and 5.4 bands for 450i. We had a delay in regulation approval, but it's in that software. So if you're wanting to use that product in those bands, you need to be on 14.1.2. And beta build 13 is available on our website right now.
Will Medusa support beam steering, or is that only for the ePMP line?
So the CN Medusa technology actually combines beam forming and beam steering with multiple chains of RF to arrive at multi-user MIMO capability. So it's actually a step beyond what the ePMP 2000 is going to do, a couple steps beyond. So it's a pretty advanced technology, and we're very excited about this whole thing.
Another one came in. Could you restate the 450M and the 3.5 gig release date, please?
So with 3 gigahertz, we don't have a release date yet for the multi-user MIMO architecture. We are looking at next year in 2017 having that available, but we don't have a release date for that one yet. So the first instantiation of massive multi-user MIMO using CN Medusa is the 5 gigahertz band, and that'll be released in August.
Is there any consideration being given to the prospect of a 450i Lite model, similar to the current 450 Lite, which limits APs to 10 subscribers?
Absolutely, there's consideration being given. We don't have a release date for it yet, but we are debating launch of a product like that, a 450i Lite. Stay tuned.
All right, Matt. Well, that's all we have so far. Just want to say thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining. If anyone has any questions or concerns, please feel free to go onto our social media pages, share any pictures, any stories you have, as well as on the community. As Matt mentioned before, we take those into strong consideration, and it's great to get that constant feedback and ideas from you guys. So if you can, please keep doing that. We really evaluate that. So I want to say thank you to everyone for joining. If you guys have any other questions, please post them to the community, and we'll go from there.
And don't forget, go massive.